Welcome to Perfect Cherry Blossom, the 7th game in the Touhou Project franchise. Here we are again, it's Reimu again, and she has to save Genzo Kyo again. It's the usual day in the life of a very lazy shrine maiden. Dum 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 dum. Lovely music in this one. Always gets me humming. Now we've got a familiar sight here, which is the fairies that for some reason are just going ham. And we're collecting items. Now, one feature of the Touhou Project franchise that makes it, keeps it interesting and fresh, hopefully, between different games, is that every game has its own point scoring mechanic. Embodiment of Scarlet Devil was very straightforward. You had blue items, you had red items, you flew to the top of the screen to collect items if you had full power, and if you had enough score, you got an extra life. By the way, this is Chirno. She's back as a Stage 1 mid-boss. Say goodbye to Chirno because that's the last we saw of her in this game. What a shame, because she's a great character. So, what about the pink items? The pink items are called cherry. They basically represent the essence of spring, because the plot of the game is that, for some reason, it should be spring, but it's not. It's still winter. For example, Lady White Rock, the Yuki-onna, which is also a type of yokai or from Japanese folklore, is still around, even though she only is around during winter. Usually, when comes spring, she goes into hibernation, but this time, apparently she decided to stick around and cause a bit of mayhem. Though since this is still just Stage 1, she's only having a bit of fun. And right now I'm playing Reimu. You might notice that this Reimu does not have the homing amulets. This is Reimu B in Perfect Cherry Blossom, where she uses her sealing needles. She also uses sealing needles as a Reimu B in Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. So this time I do have to aim. Thankfully, since this being the second game in the Windows era, means there are a couple of quality of life features that have been added. For example, if I'm focused, meaning I hit shift and fly slower, there is a dot that appears on my back, on Reimu's back. I mean, you can tell the difference between me and me in the game. It's a diegetic thing. Then I get an indicator how big a hitbox actually is. And the hitboxes of these characters are tiny, which means that dodges that look impossible or gaps that look impossibly small are actually just big enough to fit through, usually. And in this game, you have a visual indicator for your hitbox. There wasn't one in Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, but since that was the first game I learned to play, it's kind of helpful to not be stuck watching the hitbox indicator too much. Because if you have a feeling for how big your character is and where they are at any given point, then you can focus on the bullet patterns on the screen. Which right now I'm doing, but fortunately, now that the mid-boss of Stage 2 has showed up, her name is Chen, she's a Bakineko, a yokai cat. These bullets get erased just in time before it gets difficult to dodge them. This is still Stage 2, so it's still just fine. By the way, in the bottom left, that's a cherry counter. The cherry counter goes up continually, and it goes down if you bomb. And it basically determines how much points the blue items give you. In this game, however, you don't have to score points to get extra life. You have to collect the blue items. They're called point items. There's a point counter to the right. By the way, the first game also had a graze counter. It's called grazing when you are very close to a bullet without getting hit. And it usually gives you bonus points of some sort. Anyway, in this game, I believe I also started with 4 life. Fun fact, 4 lives is not a default. 5 lives. You have to subtract 1 because it shows you how many extra lives you have left. And the life I currently have is also a life. Anyway, you can set those in Touhou 6 and 7. You can set your life counter to 5, and it will not in any way impede your the validity of your win. You do get a scoring penalty, however. Now this is the final boss fight of Stage 2. We're fighting Chen again, the Bakineko, the demon cat, and she's basically fast and yeah, she's quite fast. Also cute, but that's a given since this is a Touhou project. Everyone's cute. Even Reimu. In her cuter moments, she has them occasionally. This is Shikigami Sign Sorting Seaman. By the way, also new in this game, top right, you can see my the history of how many of these spell cards I've been able to capture and how often. It's basically my success rate with that spell card. So if you see at the top right where it says 0 out of something, that means that I've never beaten that spell card before. This is Tianshan's Rumbling, history 10 out of 11. I'm not positive, but I think it might count the current one. The current attempt, but it might not, and it means I have failed it once. It looks like I have failed it once because there's really only one tricky part in the spell card, and that's when the bullets become very tiny and they just start tumbling down. Basically like, that's what would have happened if I hadn't ended the spell card phase by shooting at Chen until she had enough. Is the Hermit sign Shikai Immortality, and this is where dodging. There's the first one where you kind of have to dodge a little precisely, which in this game, I have to admit, is a little easier because of the hitbox indicator. Also, aiming at the boss is quite easy from Cherry Blossom onward because of the boss indicator at the bottom of the screen that tells you where the boss is at the top, so you can still watch your character and not have them run into any bullets while shooting at the boss. Though shooting the boss too quickly in this game is kind of not optimal for scoring purposes because of the way this game scoring works. From time to time, every time you accumulate 50,000 points of cherry in the bottom left, your cherry counter, that's the plus counter, where it's the pink plus. Every time you have 50,000 cherry points, you enter a supernatural border. It's kind of like collecting a star item, Super Mario, except if you get hit, you don't die, but the supernatural border phase does end, and you don't get the border bonus that just showed up on the screen. Another nice feature of being in the supernatural border is that you don't have to collect items by going to the top of the screen or manually, because they're just vacuumed right into you. This is Alice, by the way, Alice Margatoid. She is a magician, so technically a witch, though unlike Patchouli, the librarian from the first game, she started life as a human and then became a witch, officially. It's not entirely clear because her history, she's a character who originally from the first 3 games, the first 6 games. I'm not sure, I think she shows up for the first time in the 3rd or in the 2nd game. And now I've kind of lost track. So it's not entirely clear who she was when she was human, whether she's even native to Gensokyo. One has to assume that she's originally from the United Kingdom, but she speaks Japanese perfectly, like everyone else. But she's blonde, has blue eyes, and she has dolls. She's a puppeteer, for some reason. The balls are kind of circling her and shooting extra bullets. This is Fraternal French Dolls, her first spell card in the boss fight of Stage 3. I managed to talk my way all the way through the boss fight. Followed up by a rather straightforward non-spell phase. Alice isn't a very difficult fight, and here is Scarlet Sign and that Hodai dodge dolls, which I have never failed, at least at the time of this replay. I'm not altogether too certain if the top right is saved in the replay or if that's my current stat altogether. But anyway, I beat that spell card a 12th time. That's good. Use this non-spell phase where it's I kind of make it difficult on myself by dodging such that I can end it as fast as possible. There's even I'm even doing a little bit of wiggling to keep my hands properly dexterous. These are the tricks of the master of disaster. Here's Foggy London Dolls. This one's obviously a little trickier, as you can see. My history is 6 out of 11. But it's not, I think, the way I'm doing it here is basically the way you do it. And Reimu has a fairly easy time here because in this game, every playable character has something called basically special abilities. Reimu's is her hitbox is a little smaller than the other ones. So yeah. And since it's also the slowest, precision dodging should not be an issue. Here we've got Matchy Luminous Shanghai Dolls. This one can look a little tricky. You have to kind of move around so that the gaps between the yellow barrages don't coincide with the big blue bullets. The big, very big blue bullets. But I beat that one too. By the way, I now have 8 lives, and there's a maximum of 8 lives. You cannot have more than 8 players. So if I hit the point threshold again, and were to gain another extra life before dying, then I would actually have a wasted life. I just wouldn't get it. And, well, you get to see, it's not going to be long until then. This being stage 4 is where, of course, you have to get through the entire stage, and stage 4 is one where you do actually have to kind of know what's coming, and it can be tricky. Here I managed to weave my way through, in between 2 waves of bullets. I'm doing quite well, which is really typical because I'm still well on track of hitting the 8 lives maximum without having died enough times. Even here, I actually use a bomb in order to not die, even though I'm this close to getting an extra life, which strictly speaking was not optimal. Because if I had died, I would have gotten a new set of bombs. And right about here is where I get an extra life. Oh, but it turns out if you do get that extra life wasted, you actually get a bomb refunded. I never even fucking noticed. Yeah, I used the supernatural border basically as a get out jail free card. I'm not even sure if I hit the bomb button. If you hit the bomb button while in the supernatural border, you just end the supernatural border, because that has basically the same effect as actually using the bomb, and you don't get a bomb deducted from your bomb account or whatever that is. So am I actually, yeah, I'm actually gonna dodge through all of that, because one thing about this game is it really discourages you from bombing, because bombing tanks your cherry score in the bottom left. Because right now I'm at cherry max. If I bomb, then I lose about 20% of my cherry count, and my blue point items are worthless. Worth less, not worthless. They're still worth something. They're worth less, but not worthless. Yes, I absolutely perfectly navigated that particular bit of communication. By the way, this is Lily White, the mid-boss of stage 4. She's a fairy whose job is to announce that spring has come. She's very, very happy and shoots a big old wave of bullets that is probably gonna kill you a couple of times before you get it right. If you're about my skill level, which is not very impressive. So, well, here's more waves of bullets in various colors. These are limited bullet erasure fairy mates. For some reason, I think those are fairy mates. What they're doing here, I don't know, because the villain of the first game, the vampire Emilia Scarlet, who you saw last time, turned out not to be much of a villain after all. She was basically just kind of having fun, and without any like protests, took away the Scarlet Mist. She said the official reasoning why she covered the entire land in Scarlet Mist was, yeah, I'm a vampire, I hate sunlight, and I want to go outside one of these days. So here you have to be constant in a move, because these bullets target the location you're at the time they're released. They're aimed bullets. So being constantly a little bit on the move when is the correct call when there are aimed bullets to evade. For some reason I didn't manage to kill that fairy at the top of the screen, which means I didn't get its bomb. Very sad. Now, this is the end of stage 4. This is where the game crashes. Oh no, the game does not crash. Despite first appearances, we're fighting the Prison River Sisters. These are actually 3 bosses at the same time. And these ones aren't yokai, they're poltergeists. They're like literally ghosts. Spirits of some sort. I think they're officially classed as poltergeists. Basically, they apparently they used to be, while they were alive, they were sisters, so they're still sisters now. And they play instruments and shoot very, very mean waves of bullets. So Reimu gets to fight this person with her sister. I think it's Lunasa. Not entirely certain, but I think this one's Lunasa. And she's the easiest one, basically. It's not even like close. But in between there are spell cards where they all fight at the same time. Noisy sign Phantom Dinning. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Phantom Dining and the English batch just misspelled it, but who knows. Or maybe it's misspelled in the original, because Zun is not actually very good at English, even though he likes using it a lot. Now we've got a non-spell phase, again, just precision dodging. Don't get scared, the hitboxes are a little smaller than they look. Don't get scared, don't get scared. Don't use a bomb here. I'm sure I managed to beat this one without a bomb. Or dying. Yeah, see? All good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it actually was all good. Wow. String performance, Garneria del Gesù. It's very, very musical here. More precision dodging, basically. 9 successful attempts out of 11 attempts. So this spell card is literally 9/11. But I got a spell card bonus, which means I'm not sure if that means I just made it 9/11 or if it's now 10/12. I would have to look it up. Here you can actually stick in the top right or top left, and hitting the sisters that aren't taking center stage will count as just hitting the boss in this case. So just here it starts to get a little tricky, but I actually managed to capture the spell card too, which means I'm doing quite well on the prison rivers. And I tend to drop a lot of lives if I haven't played a game in a while, which is something I've noticed. And this is where I drop a bunch of them. Though part of that is that after this, I'm not going to be playing as a Reimu B anymore, because I've already completed Reimu B at that point. Spoiler alert. So I have to play. I have to fight the other prison rivers, and they're much worse. Much worse. You're gonna get to see them eventually as well. Now, we're at stage 5. Again, the second to last stage. By the way, in each stage there's a unique way in which enemies announce their soon-to-be appearing. That was some English. And the faster you kill them, the better, because they're not going to be able to shoot quite as many bullets if you kill them fast enough. Here, just everything is going to start like getting filled with all sorts of items, and just when you think you're never going to get a chance to collect them all, which is not quite yet. I'm just sticking at the bottom, trying not to die, mainly. Here's a supernatural border. Very lovely. The ideal way to manage the supernatural border is to time them with periods like these, where there's just a lot of items and a lot of bullets, and you can't possibly get them all. And because it's Reimu, and Reimu is slow as all get out, she can't get to the top of the screen either. Here, if you're really fast, you can kill them all, and you don't have to dodge any bullets. But here, at least, I only had to manage one set of bullets. Now we fight Yomu Konpaku, and she is half human, half phantom. She has a ghost half, which you may be able to spot, because it's actually like kind of a little white spooky ghost with no visible face. That's just like her phantom half, basically like a pet. I think it has the nickname Myon. Now Yomu is a very serious character. You can see she's trained in the way of the sword, and she trains hard to fight well, but she's also not very bright. But this is her ghost sword fastening on Preta, but being a stage 5 boss, she is kind of tricky, and she has a similar but different gimmick to Sakuya from the last game, in that she slows time down as she strikes with her blades, probably to give you a chance like to react in time or something. I don't know why it does that. And yeah. Now, why is she... Oh, by the way, we're currently in the Netherworld. Maybe I should have mentioned that at some point. The Prison Mirror Sisters guarded the portal to the Netherworld, and we're going to the Netherworld because that is where all the spring has been taken. So that is also where the final ultimate culprit is going to be, and this being stage 5, Yomu Konpaku is the gardener of the final boss. I mean, ostensibly she's the gardener, but she also cooks, and let's be frank, she probably does more cooking than anybody else in Gensokyo, because Yoyoko, her mistress, is famously the most gluttonous character in all of Touhou. This is 200 Yojana in one slash, history 2 out of 10, which means there's already been at least one run where I died before even seeing this spell card. And it's not one that I managed to pass often, and just now I'm not going to pass it in this game either. I just used a bomb after all. I wonder if I've ever actually captured a spell card with Reimu. I know I've captured it with other people. Here I just die to her non-spell because I still don't quite know. Sometimes you do it right and there's a gap for you to dodge, and sometimes you get kind of murdered by the daggers that she throws. And because I don't have the homing shot, it can be difficult to actually end the spell card before you lose too many lives on there. Animal Realm Sword, Karmic Punishment of the Idle and Confocused. History 1 out of 9. It's surprisingly not even that difficult a spell card if you know the trick, but because time slows down, and I think the trick is that you have to, like, you can't stick at the bottom and wait for the bullets to become fast again. You have to use the time slowdown effect to weave your way through the bullets, and I think it's correct to weave through the middle, because that's where the bullets tend to kind of miss you, rather than the left or the right, but feel free to disagree with that. Now we come to Human Realm Sword, Fantasy of Entering Enlightenment. History 3 out of 8, but this one's kind of intimidating though, I feel. She's got these barrages of red bullets, and there's bullets coming from below in this spell card, which is something that doesn't happen that often. And from time to time you have to weave your way through one of those red barrages when they become like spread out enough to dodge through. This was some very tricky dodging I just did, I think. Actually. Supernatural Border, and I passed the spell card. By the way, somehow I managed to end up at 7 players. Still at this point. I think I wasted 2 1-ups in this game, so I really did well. Which is a good thing, because there's not going to be many of those lives left by the time I'm done with the final boss. Let's just put it like that. Heaven Sword, 5 Signs of Dying Diva. For some reason I can't quite complete a spell card every time, even though it's not actually that difficult. And here with Reimu, I stick at the bottom. With other characters, I've taken to just charging the spell card, literally. Sometimes I overshoot a mark and I end up close to town clean. And here I fell just short of being able to capture the spell card with a dead just before the life bar ran out. But stage 5 is still completed. Now with 6 players and 3 bombs, I couldn't possibly be any better prepared for the final stage. One would assume. Getting full power mode again. By the way, if you collect full power mode in Touhou 6 and 7, it clears the screen of bullets. This is not going to stay that way forever. But we're going to go one by one with the Touhou games, and you're going to see that. Here, thankfully, eventually, like, every bullet gets cleared, and you actually get to collect all those point items, which means I'm back at 7 lives, because I reach another point threshold. There's going to be one more at 1500, and then there's one more at 9999. This one's that one's theoretical. The other one, 1500. The 1000 I can definitely reach. The 1500 I could potentially reach. Yomu, by the way, here also has a rebattle. Now, in this case, she kind of pleads with us to turn around because she doesn't really hate us that much. She doesn't want us to get killed. And her mistress is in a bit of a murderous mood. Even though she might not even realize it. But I've defeated Yomu, I even get an extra bomb, and now I have 7 lives and 4 bombs, and this should be very good. Remember, when I beat Remedial Scarlet, I only had 3 lives going in. So how much more difficult could Yuriko possibly be? I mean, it doesn't start that bad, right? You kind of dodge, you weave your way in between, and these hitboxes, the hitbox of these big yellow and blue bullets are quite generous, generally speaking. Now we come to Losing Hometown, Village of Self-Loss, Past Sin. Spellcard names are getting very complicated at this point. And here the trick is that you should not be in that area where there's a lot of space, because that's where the lasers are going to come in. You can't dodge the lasers, so you kind of have to instead dodge the bullets on the other side, which is difficult but possible, unlike dodging your way through the lasers. By the way, the lasers go farther up over time, so you should definitely try to kill Yuriko as fast as possible in this one. Oh, who is Yuriko anyway? Yuriko is basically rules the netherworld. She's a ghost. Apparently ghosts and phantoms are different things. The Japanese terms for these terms are different, and it's supposed to be not the same. I never quite... It's really not something that you're gonna have to figure out unless you really, really want to get into Touhou lore. Deadly Dance, Law of Mortality, Bed Butterfly. And I think this is about a point where I start meeting spell cards that I've not seen before. I'm already at 6 lives, 2 bombs. In this one you kind of have to anticipate the fact that these are aimed at you, but at least don't change direction as they fly towards you. Just can't let yourself get cornered. Yeah, I actually managed to do a bit of tricky dodging to... I mean, I've already lost a spell card. By the way, top right says set 0 out of 3, so this is only the 3rd time I've even seen the spell card. Or possibly the 4th, as mentioned. This non-spell is kinda mean. You have to worry about the blue daggers, but apparently it's a bit easier if you stick to the side. The problem is, Yuriko is in the middle, and you can't shoot her that way. So the problem is, am I gonna get back into the middle, eventually, or I'm just gonna time out that spell card, or bomb or something. I don't remember what I did there. Ooh! I somehow managed to make my way through the middle, and now I'm actually shooting Yuriko and managing to end this non-spell phase without dying or using a bomb. This is Swallowtail Butterfly. So the big thing you have to worry about is this are these lasers. First of all, they do kill you if you touch them. And second, this flower is probably basically impossible to dodge. Here I actually collided with one of the lasers, which ended my border, I think. So I don't get the spell card. This one's very close. I do get a spell card. So I didn't get hit. Oh wow. And now we come to stuff that I have not seen before. Only the blue bullets in this non-spell phase are actually aimed at you. The other ones are designed to cut off your escape. So if you only dodge the blue bullets and do it only slightly, you're okay. I mean, obviously you have to dodge the round green bullets too, but that's not as much of a problem. Yeah, managed to make my way through that. I still have 6 lives and 2 bombs, but now we come to spell cards that I have not seen before, and I already die here. Repository of Hirokawa Ghost. It's a tough one. Again, don't move too much. Just move enough to dodge things. Otherwise, you're gonna collide with other stuff. And I died again. Now I'm down to 4 lives and 3 bombs. And wondering just how long this boss fight is gonna be. Supernatural Border. I already collided with one of those big waves of big bullets. And here again I'm being chased by aimed bullet barrages with not much room to escape. By the way, the spell card is Cherry Blossom Sign, Perfect Ink Black Cherry Blossom Self-Loss. For whatever reason. Lots of precision dodging going on. And I think this one's easier to do if you like make use of the space instead of hugging the bottom. Okay, okay. Life bar is almost done. Here I die again. 3 lives, 3 bombs. Ah, still plenty of time. And hey, I managed to do it. Yuriko's dead. Reflect upon an ending plight. How could one rest their eyes? Wait a second. What's going on? Oh, lovely. Resurrection butterfly. Minus 30%. Reflowering. You thought the boss fight was over, didn't you? And I died. No, wait. I managed to death bomb. Okay. 3 layers. 2 bombs. What am I doing over there? Oh my god. Yeah, you kind of have to dodge them. And at this point, I'm basically panicking and just trying to get through the whole thing. Somehow. Because I think I legitimately got taken off guard by the revival. 2 players, 2 bombs. But a spell card. Oh wait, yeah, shooting basically doesn't do anything in this case. Because she's already dead, she's just doing her revival thing. So what you have to do is count in the top right the time as it runs out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And that is the actual all clear. And that was Perfect Cherry Blossom. I managed to beat it fairly quickly with Reimu B. She's probably the easiest one to do it with, I think. Reimu A still has her homing shots, but in Perfect Cherry Blossoms, Reimu A's homing amulets are so weak it's actually a hindrance, because she just can't kill stuff fast enough, which means she has to do a lot of dodging that other characters wouldn't have to do. You can see a second replay in this list, and that's gonna be a future episode as well. It features the character Sakuya. The head mate from the first game is actually a playable character in this game. So look forward to that at some point in the future, but not quite yet because, again, there's a full month in between these two and we've got someone else to get through. And then, until then, see you around.